know me?
I know what you are.
Good. And you know if you look for trouble while you're here, you'll find more than you can handle.
Hanger, this is Mike, and today we are going to talk to you about the entire Waterworld toy line, and it's an okay toy line, not the greatest toy line, but the show is great. It's actually a very good movie. It did not catch on. The toy line did not catch on, so it's a very small toy line with 8 figures, 2 pack-in vehicles, and 1 majorly big vehicle. They call it the Trimaran. We're going to look at this. We'll talk about it all coming up. Okay, so I first want to start off talking about the Mariner. Now, there's a bunch of stuff. First of all, I didn't know from watching the movie many times that they called Kevin Costner the Mariner, but he's called the Mariner. And how do you find out about that? Well, you find out about that from the toy line. Kind of the same thing that we saw from Kenner and all of that kind of stuff, but the one you see in front of you that's loose is the Power Bow Mariner with shooting combat bow and mutant moray eel. And so they also packed in little fish. I don't remember seeing all of these fish that are out there, but maybe it's all from that one really big underwater scene where they reveal really important stuff. And so anyhow, we can get into looking at this figure and seeing what's going on with him. So first of all, I think they got the likeness of Kevin Costner pretty close. For what they were doing in 1995, mass-produced at Kenner still... Now it was Kenner was bought out by Tonka, and then Tonka was bought out by Hasbro. But I think for a while, up until the late 90s, they still had Kenner employees in Cincinnati, Ohio, I believe. So it was the same people making this that made some Star Wars stuff back in the day and all that kind of stuff. Same team that worked on this worked on the Power of the Force 2 line, I believe. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm just guessing here. So 5 points of articulation with the head, the arms, and legs. And that's it. Kind of just like vintage Star Wars figures. Except it's got that 90s plastic feel. It doesn't feel like vintage Star Wars figures. And standing them up is not the easiest. You can get it done. They're not flimsy figures by any means, but they're not as solid standing as I would like. So this one does come with his bow, and it's got it's like fishing line string strung through there, and then you're supposed to shoot one of these missiles through here, and it actually has a nice recoil to it. So the accessories, in my opinion, really are not what this toy line's about, but it is kind of hard to find a complete set of these loose. It is pretty easy to just go track down some cheap carded ones and open them up. So the eel is made of kind of a rubbery substance, and so cheap rubbery substance, but it's sort of transparent too. Kind of cool, interesting add-in that they added into it. So he does have paint detail on him, and just quite a bit of really good detail on this figure overall. So I do kind of like that. Now, some other stuff that he's packed in with is this gun, which he never used in the film, I don't believe. But maybe he did. Maybe it was what he was going to use when the smokers were coming or something. So, but different types of projectiles that go into that. So let's move on to the next one, which I don't have a loose of all of the Mariners. I just bought some cheap stuff online loose to look at here. And my original intention was actually to buy a set of these loose, but I never found them, so I had to buy them sealed. And I just struggle opening stuff that's 27 years old. Has it been 27 years? This one is the Bola. Let me get this in here. Bola Attack Mariner with double claw launcher and mutant eel. And is it the same? It's a different mutant eel. That's a purple one. This is orange, and this one's fatter. That one's been on a diet. Hasn't found anything to eat in Waterworld. And so Bola is where there's 2 projectiles that come out. It's all the rage in the 90s to make everything a Bola, and you see that in almost every toy line in the 90s. It's really strange. But this one is the hardest one to get. It was, I think, the last one to come out. Just seems like it would all be one wave, right? So he does come with what looks like maybe a spear gun kind of thing right here. And then the bolas that shoot out. And what they do effectively, I guess, when you fire the bola, then it kind of, it's got a string connecting them, and wraps around and knocks someone over or something. But all of this is the same on all the card backs. It really just mirrors the exact same 2, 4, 6, 8 figures, and then the Trimaran. So, but yeah, this guy, not much to it really, and really unnecessary. He never used Ebola in the actual movie, but they had to give some playability to this stuff. So here we go with the Hydro Stinger Mariner. And so this is another one that's sort of common. 3 of the main character. We could have used some other characters like the little girl. I just watched the movie and I'm already forgetting their names again, but it's not Newt. The little girl, and then the lady that was protecting her that had the little girl had a tattoo on her back. And then there was a couple of other characters they could have included, but instead, nope, 3 of the Mariner, because the main character always sells the best, right? So this one comes with an eel. It's got a manta ray, a mutant manta ray, and then it's got a blasting aqua spear, which I guess that's what this is. And I don't know, does it pump and shoot water? I actually haven't opened this one. Let's see here. It does shoot water from Waterworld. That's fill the weapon, hold until the water is shown, and then slide spear. So pretty interesting that it uses water to push the projectile, I guess. That's sort of interesting, actually. That's kind of cool. And then you've got this stick here for him. So not really that interesting overall. Let's move on from the Mariner. We've gone from the Mariner to the Atoll Enforcer. So this is the guy that played a very prominent role in the Atoll. Speaking of Atoll, there is a YouTube channel called The Atoll that's all things Waterworld. And I'm not surprised, but I am surprised that there's a whole channel talking about Waterworld. Really awesome. The guy who does that does an amazing job and does a lot of research into this stuff. And so with this, I wouldn't put that much time into just one thing unless I loved it that much. So obviously he loves the franchise that much. That's really awesome. Go check out The Atoll. It's ATOLL. It's pretty awesome that he's done so much. Tons of videos, and really hoping for another movie, a part 2. And so anyway, getting into this is a loose version of the carded version right there. Again, these are all real cheap. You can get them for probably like 10, 12 bucks each on eBay, even today. If you buy a lot of them, like you buy a group, a cluster of them, they could be even cheaper. Loose, oddly enough, you're either just going to get figures with no accessories or missing something. Loose complete doesn't really exist. All right, so we're going to get into this guy here. I have a little bit more with him. So he has this backpack. Now, this is where you see reuse of what I think is Jurassic Park. And so that's a Jurassic Park one, I think. I have one. I don't know if it's Jurassic or what, but I think somebody said it's Jurassic Park. So I'm just going to believe whatever I've heard in the past. Now, getting this guy to stand with his backpack on is going to be really hard. And so, yeah. Anyway, I think this came untabbed there. The whole point of this mess is just so kids have something to play with. But you clip this in, and then you clip this one in here also, and then you can project them out like so. If it doesn't stick in there. So that one's stuck in there. Try one more time. So they're just adding features which I think are unnecessary, but you got to have something for kids to play with. You remember when toys were made just for kids and they weren't targeting adults? That's what this was. So the figure itself does look pretty good. He looks a lot like the character on the show, and he was basically the lawman in one of these atolls. What an atoll is this little community of people living out there. They had almost nothing. They were dying and barely getting by, and they ate reconstituted stuff. It also comes with this little green dude, and so they all come with something like this. Here's the back. Looks the same. Atoll Enforcer. Next up, we've got Nord with the firing bazooka bomber and the mutant crab. Here is his mutant crab, Mr. Crab. So I was always told I was like Mr. Crab because I was so cheap back in the day. So I took that as a compliment, although I didn't really watch. I didn't watch SpongeBob. So another really good likeness of the character for the time. Now, if this was coming out today, 2022, we'd all expect a little bit better. But for 1995 and for a cheap figure with, I think, they were like $4 or $5 figures. Not bad at all, and does kind of have a lot of this look to him like he would be on the sea. Again, another actor did a fantastic job with that role, and just really awesome. Kind of a Zartan kind of a role, kind of a spy in a way kind of role in the movie. And he does have this. So what this is kind of like a bow type of a launcher. So it's a crossbow that doesn't do anything. It just looks like something. It looks like it would do something, but it doesn't. So looking at the actual packaged figure, you see this giant bazooka and the projectiles, which none of that stuff really matters all that much. He didn't have a bazooka in the movie, I don't believe, but I just rewatched it though. I mean, love the movie, and I love this guy's performance. All right, so next up we have the Deacon, and I've got to say, another character that Dennis Hopper was the actor, did a fantastic job, really added some fun to the movie with a villain with a sense of humor, and that was pretty awesome. Still a little scary at points, which is good. You need a villain to be a little scary. With his eye cut out. Now, who did that? You have to watch the movie to find out. So he's got his eye patch on there. It's not really an eye patch, it's like goggles. It's goggles. You have to use what you can find in Waterworld. He has this funky, crazy backpack with 2 of these. And let's see if we can get it to work here. Yep, that's how it works. And I don't want to mess up my packaging. I don't know why I did that, but anyway, it shoots. So he does look pretty good. We'll see him better without his crazy backpack on here in a bit. He does come with this fish. It's a fish. We'll see exactly what it says here on the back. All the stuff that it comes with. Attached to the helmet and all that kind of stuff. So really the back only shows, and yeah, that was kind of blurry. But it's a disc firing helmet is what they say it is. And then a mutant hunter shark. Now he does have quite a bit of detail in here, and wearing all this stuff that looks like he would be someone in the military and maybe an admiral at sea or something like that kind of stuff. He does come with this extra gun that I don't think he ever used in the movie either, but you know, they just use your imagination over at Kenner. Cool figure. You gotta have this guy. He's really cheap to pick up, so probably didn't sell very well, even though he was the main villain in the movie. What we got left is 2 of the vehicles, and I'll talk about each one of these one at a time. This is the Smoker Thunder Ski, and it comes with this Smoker figure right here, which you only get if you bought this Thunder Ski. It's a jet ski. They did use quite a few of them. It would be kind of fun to have multiples of these, but then you'd have multiples of that guy, and to have each of your bad guys ride one of these jet skis. So kind of, they could have fleshed it out with a bunch of different of the characters riding these. They could have made it a lot bigger. Maybe if they did a wave 2, that was their plan. And they each have this gun and then this projectile, which projects out of here, the push button, and then it's got some, this is not an antenna. This is actually a hose, and you can see in the package there, connects to the figure, and there's a hole in the back of the figure. Not really exactly sure what that's all about. And then it does have one little feature to it. When you lift these up, these spike things come out. So it's not just a little jet ski, it's a spiky jet ski. But it is kind of cool. It does look like it's weathered and corroded. The salt water has caused some problems over time. But yeah, I just tried to cheap loose one down just for fun, just so I could look at it and have it. I actually found this looking for him because it was the only one that's missing, and people ask a little bit more for that for whatever reason, as if it's the hardest thing to find. But still, it's a pretty cool little feature here to have a vehicle. One problem that you might notice is that the hands on the packed-in figure are positioned a certain way where they can hold the handles. The rest of the figures don't have their hands positioned that way, so it just doesn't look right. But, you know, I guess kids can fill the gap with their imagination. That's always a thing, or it used to be. Let's take a look at this other vehicle here. This is the Wave Ripper, and the Wave Ripper itself is kind of interesting. It comes with a 4th Mariner. 4 out of 8 figures are Kevin Costner in this toy line. Just talk about quadrupling down on this. What is this toy line? Indiana Jones or something? Where they made 5 or 6 or 7 Indiana Jones in the 2008 toy line. Crazy, isn't it? But still, it's pretty cool looking. Mariner, out of all of them, I think that the Bola one is the one that looks closest to the show, and then second closest would be the one that I've got right here, that guy. And so I don't remember him changing clothes a lot in the movie, but let's try to get this into perspective. Okay, so which is you place figure on the foot pegs and surfboard figures, hands, grip, and all this kind of stuff. And then these side things come out. So you pull the running boards out to create wings and move the rudder for a pretend steering. So that's what it does. It doesn't do much. Looking back at this, these rudders go all the way back here. The running boards go all the way back here. And then this rudder here, that looks like it's steering. I think it's connected, maybe, that when you move this around, this moves around. I don't know. And then you have projectiles right here, and then a little gun. So still, it's okay. It's features for kids to use and to have. And it also looks like, if you look at the art, it looks like you could clip the extra little projectile on somewhere. So that'd be kind of cool if that really does work. Now for the big finale, we have the Trimaran, which by far is the best part of this toy line. So here's the front of the box, and then we can turn it. It's big, and it's kind of heavy. Like, looking at the box, I'm thinking, yeah, it's sort of heavy. It's sort of big. This thing's probably pretty big overall. And it's got all of these features, as he can slide with this rope, and we have missile firing action. We have this thing, these wind sails that should be generating electricity actually in reality. We'll talk about that. It pops up, and then we'll pull the cell out of here, and there's a few features. There's more. I think there's more features than what they're even showing here, but I am going to show all of this coming up. So here it is out of the box, and it is huge. And if you just look at the length of the box, the length of this, it just feels like, looking at this, it almost feels like this doesn't fit in that box. That's just how tall it is. It keeps going and going and going. It's crazy, but it is really cool that they made this. And a bit of it is just long parts that are connected together to make it look so big. It looks so huge. And it's also touted as a playset. We're going to go through all of the features here. But as you can see, you didn't really have the Atoll Enforcer and you didn't have the Mariner working together like this, but that's really all you got. For good guys, you got a couple of bad guys. This is pretty much, aside from the smoker rider that rides this, this is pretty much every character that was made. And so there's not a lot of characters with this. So the fun is in this playset. So let's take a look at it. Looking at this thing from the front, you do have up here a harpoon gun, which it can be rotated, double rotated, 2 points of articulation, and it falls off. Good that some of this stuff should fall off rather than break. I would rather see that. We do have foot pegs here and here, so all over. So you can put these figures, like he's taking over, he's coming up on them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, probably 15, 20 foot pegs on this thing all around, and pretty interesting. There's detail on this too, as if it's just like the Trimaran itself was, what I understand, a luxury yacht, and that's what it was. And so actually, as big as it is nowhere near scale, because you can't go down below and all this stuff. I would say it's about 3 times too small to match the regular one, but I couldn't imagine them making this thing any bigger, so it's kind of crazy. We do have this fires with friction, is it? Nope, it's got a string in there. You just push down on the blue. Kind of dead giveaway, right? That this thing, the fire mechanism is a different colored piece. You can see more details in here, and you can also see more foot pegs, which is strange. So 2 of them really close together, but they put a lot of time, effort, and design into this, and it does look pretty good. It paid off. Here's the molded in winch, and then this is kind of where he pilots it from. He captains it from this, but generally he spent a lot of time in this area, but they really couldn't build out that area with the sail in the way. So, and a lot of times he was ducking as this would go by. So still is interesting that they put that in there and the way they put that in there. But let's look at features. So start looking at more of these features. We saw the 2 sort of ejector kind of pieces, but here's one that is quite interesting. So this is connected up top. So we're going to bring this piece down, and he's going to hold on to this. We can sort of partially plug him into there. And then you pull on this piece. Okay, let's unplug him. And he can go up. Oh, let's try it again. And he can go up. And this, he does that in the movie. It falls off. Maybe it's not the greatest feature, but another thing is that he has foot pegs up here. So with these foot pegs that are up here, and we can just remove this entirely, he can do this whole scene where he was standing up here in the movie. So that's part of Waterworld, where he's standing up there, and they make that big, massive shot of him. Pretty cool. Let's go on to the next feature, and this next feature is right here. We can push this button. Much better angle. So you just, this releases, and there is pressure on this, so, and evidently not a whole lot of pressure, and you get these. So, well, in order for this to work, let's go ahead and unclip this and put this away. So this is kind of cool how this works. So you open up these flaps, but you have to put those on yourself, and then you fold this into, slide this down, and then you just kind of stuff all of this in here. And this is all stuff you have to assemble yourself, which it really wasn't that hard. The hardest part, of course, is the net, which it wasn't really that hard either. So, got all that closed up. The sail is gone and hidden. And then now we have this thing here, and it goes to this, and it kind of spins. This is supposed to generate electricity, but from the atoll, I got information from that YouTube channel that this actually required them to set up motors and stuff to turn it in the movie. It didn't actually generate any electricity, but theoretically this is how he generated electricity and had electricity on his atoll. He had a battery down there. Now this, once you put the cells away, this thing collapses down, so it can condense down to be a bit smaller, a little bit smaller. The next thing is the nets. So these nets are not very strong, so you use something light, and you would see in the movie he would toss stuff in his nets and catch them. And then there was that one time where the boat fell apart, and a piece of this section just knocked the net out, so that was a problem. But still, it is pretty interesting that we're included these net. Now, one thing about this net is when you put it on, I did mine to where you could tuck it under and have the top look clean, but the bottom's not going to look so clean. The bottom kind of looks like a mess, but I don't care because I look at it from the top, not the bottom. That's kind of always the way I look at it. A lot of people in the Transformer community concerned about the backs of their figures. Well, I don't see the back so much. Well, I'm not concerned about the bottom of my Trimaran. I just hope that it looks good. Really awesome playset overall. Really awesome vehicle overall. It included so much of what we saw in the movie. It's not 100% accurate, and they did make some concessions, well, for reality. But I think that they pulled it off very well, and it is pretty solid. It does roll. It has a wheel, a couple wheels, and it rolls. But a great fun toy, and the flagship of this toy line. Hope you enjoyed this look at the 1995 Kenner Waterworld. It is a small toy line. It's okay for what Kenner did back in the day. Feels kind of like Robin Hood, but a smaller toy line. They kind of combine their playset to the major vehicle, and it's the same 5 POA style of figure, but it's still kind of fun. The charm is there, and of course, these are still pretty cheap to collect. It's not really hard to collect them all with only 8 figures and a big vehicle. So let me know what you think about Waterworld in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Tidy Hanger out.
All those chits, You can order up a bath. Have you ever had a freshwater
Why
bath?
are you talking to me?
Just being friendly.
Give me the key to the city now. I'd say there are 2 chances of that. Hey! No way and no how.
Should have bought me that drink.
All right! If they won't tell us where she is, do them, both of them! Just kill them now! Oh, so gullible!